After losing her job, my MIL moved into our home and began criticizing every little thing I did. She then blamed my miscarriage on me, saying that's why she doesn't have a grandchild. So, I told my husband I couldn't get pregnant again and left. Hi everyone. I, Leilani, 33F, have been married to my husband, Danny, 33M, for 2 years now. We have had a stable marriage except for a few issues. One of these issues is Danny's mom, Camila, 53F, who has never accepted me. She made it very clear from the beginning that she doesn't like me and that I am not good enough for her little boy. About a year ago, she lost her job and was unable to find anything new. She burned through her savings quickly and was left with nothing. So, Danny insisted that I should be a good wife and let his mom move in with us. I was a bit hesitant at first, but how could I refuse? The other options were placing his mom in a home or letting her be homeless, and I didn't want to be the villain in that scenario. However, soon it became clear that this wasn't going to work. From the moment she moved in, she started criticizing everything I did. If I cooked dinner, it wasn't done the way she used to make it for Danny. If I cleaned the house, I was either using the wrong products or missing spots she deemed important. She acted like I was some kind of untrained housewife who had no idea how to run a home. Even though Danny and I had been living just fine before she moved in, she also started taking over everything. My kitchen, suddenly it was her domain. She went through my cabinets and rearranged everything to her liking. I couldn't find anything anymore. My spice rack was a disaster, and she threw out some of my favorite ingredients because she didn't like the smell. When I confronted her about it, she acted like I was being ungrateful for her help. Then came the unsolicited parenting advice, except we don't even have kids. Every time she saw me and Danny spending time together, she'd sigh loudly and say things like, "A real wife would have given my son a child by now." She'd drop hints at family gatherings, asking when she was getting a grandchild, and making it seem like I was the reason we hadn't started a family yet. She even tried to set Danny up on playdates with his childhood friends who had kids, saying, "Maybe this will inspire you, too." And don't even get me started on the laundry situation. She took it upon herself to do our laundry, which at first seemed like a nice gesture, but it quickly turned into a nightmare. She washed all of my delicate clothes with Danny's heavy work clothes, ruining some of my favorite outfits. Then she had the audacity to blame me for buying cheap fabric. She even started folding our underwear and placing them in different drawers. It was so invasive and uncomfortable. Privacy that became a thing of the past. She walked into our bedroom whenever she wanted, claiming she needed something. I had to start locking the door, and even then she'd knock constantly if she needed something. One time she barged in while I was getting dressed and had the nerve to act offended that I was undressed in my own bedroom. She also had opinions on everything I bought. If I came home with new clothes, she'd scoff and say something like, "Spending your husband's hard-earned money again." If I got takeout after a long day at work, she'd make passive-aggressive comments about how I was too lazy to cook. The worst part, Danny never really stood up for me. He'd just brush it off and say things like, "That's just how she is," or "She doesn't mean it like that." It got to the point where I dreaded coming home. I started staying late at work just to avoid seeing her. I found excuses to run errands that didn't even need to be done just so I could have a moment of peace. My home no longer felt like mine. It felt like I was living in someone else's house, tiptoeing around, trying not to set off the landmine that was my mother-in-law. And the cherry on top, she acted like she was the queen of the house. She took over the living room, watching whatever she wanted on TV and blasting the volume. If I wanted to watch something, she'd sigh dramatically and say, "I guess I can go to my room if you really don't care about my entertainment." She even took my favorite blanket, the one I've had for years, and claimed it as her own, saying it was too nice to be wasted on me. Every time I tried to set boundaries, she acted like I was attacking her. She'd get teary-eyed and run to Danny, making me seem like the bad guy. And of course, Danny would say, "Just try to get along with her. Babe, she's going through a rough patch." I was hitting my limit. But what choice did I have? She had no other place to stay. I tried talking to Danny about it, but whenever it involves his mom, he goes totally blind to the issues. I can't figure out what hold she has on him, but he refuses to acknowledge how toxic her actions are, and it's driving me up the wall. Every time I open up about how Camila treats me, Danny just dismisses it. He calls me overly sensitive or tells me to be more tolerant, especially since she's struggling right now. But things never improve. He always takes her side, and I end up bearing the brunt of all her drama. It's becoming unbearable. That said, Camila went too far last week, and I think that was my final straw. See, Danny and I have been eager to start a family for some time. It was something we were both thrilled about. A few months back, I got pregnant, and we were over the moon. Sadly, I miscarried last month. It hit me hard, and I was still working through the pain when Camila showed up. I wasn't prepared for any of it and felt like I had no room to mourn. I pushed through, but I was wiped out, emotionally spent, and just not myself. Last week, after an especially grueling day at work, I came home craving some comfort from Danny and a bit of quiet. But when I got there, Danny and Camila were at the table eating dinner, and there was nothing left for me. I was famished and had been counting on a warm meal, but nope. I headed to the kitchen and asked Danny, "Any food left for me?" He just glanced at Camila and stayed silent. Then she piped up, "Well, I didn't know your schedule, so I didn't prepare anything for you." I was stunned, too drained to fight. I grabbed some bread and jam and headed to bed. I was hurt, but I lacked the strength to push back. All I craved was sleep and a break from how everything seemed to be crumbling, but even that escaped me. The next morning, I woke up still wiped out. I went downstairs for some calm and a strong coffee to kickstart my day. But naturally, Camila was up, parked at the kitchen table. I sipped my coffee, wishing she'd give me space, but then I caught her muttering about how coffee's unhealthy. I was already exhausted, empty-stomached, and on edge. I tried tuning her out, but she crossed the line with her next words. She claimed I never listened to advice, and that's why I lost the baby. I froze, unable to process it. I couldn't fathom her saying something so vicious, right when I was still healing from the devastation. I was raw, grappling with the grief, and she was pinning the blame on me for something beyond my control. I was floored. I couldn't let it pass. I snapped. "Who the hell do you think you are? What makes you think you can speak to me that way?" She stared back coolly and replied, "I can say it because you're the reason I still don't have a grandchild." That did it. Rage exploded inside me. My blood rushed hot. I yelled at her to shut up and stormed off to compose myself, but I was seething. My heart hammered. I didn't want a full-blown scream fest, but I couldn't contain it. I ached to unload how insensitive and rude she was, how she was shoving me to the brink, but I didn't know where to begin. Naturally, Danny overheard the commotion and rushed down. I spilled everything she'd said. I was trembling, fighting to keep my tone even, but fury consumed me. I just needed him to grasp the severity, how his mom's words were utterly unacceptable. Then Danny responded that I should brush it off. She's elderly and desperate for a grandkid. He urged me to cut her slack because she's hurting and wants to be involved in our world, and I should tolerate her jabs since she's family. I was speechless. It felt like he was invalidating my pain, prioritizing her wants over my trauma. It stung like a betrayal. I'd just endured the worst heartbreak imaginable, and here he was, defending her instead of backing me up. He didn't even acknowledge her wrongness. Just, "She's old. She craves a grandchild. Move on." I snapped. I couldn't take more. I shot back. "If that's your stance, maybe you should leave me, because I can't get pregnant anymore." The words tumbled out unfiltered in the anger. I didn't intend them, but deep down, they rang true. I couldn't conceive again. I grabbed my stuff, packed hastily, and bolted from the house. I had no plan, but staying felt impossible. I couldn't linger where I felt so dismissed and unvalued. It seemed like Danny had picked his mom over me, and I wouldn't stand for it. So, I crashed at a friend's. Now, I'm here, pondering my next move. I never aimed to wound Danny, but the hurt from him and his mom overwhelmed me. Maybe blurting that infertility line wasn't ideal, especially then, but I was shattered. I'd voiced my pain repeatedly, and Zilch shifted. So yeah, am I the asshole for how I handled it? I know rage fueled me, but was storming out excessive? Did I blow up too big? Part of me feels guilty, yet I couldn't keep enduring Camila's oversteps while Danny ignored them. What do you all say? Update 1*K everyone. Thanks so much for the feedback on my original post. Many of you labeled me the asshole for not sharing sooner with Danny about my infertility, and I appreciate the perspective. I see why it lands that way. But it's honestly more layered than it might look. The reality? I needed space to absorb it all before diving into that talk with him. How do you even broach something so heavy? It's brutal, and I wasn't prepared right after learning. Truth is, I only confirmed I couldn't get pregnant again right before Camila arrived, under a week prior. It rocked my foundation, and I was still piecing together how to cope. Then boom, she moves in. I hope that clicks. I was utterly swamped and couldn't wrap my head around discussing it, much less with Danny. That said, I get it now. I shouldn't have dropped that bomb on him like that, especially with her there. The fury just hijacked me, and it all poured out. I regret the delivery. I'm truly sorry. I never wanted to inflict pain, but with her under our roof, I was lost on how to navigate it. Anyway, post-blow-up, Danny rang me the day before last. He sounded wrecked, and I heard it, but I was still too raw to engage. I said I'd message once I'd cooled off and could chat properly. I required distance to sort my thoughts. I wasn't about to risk more regrettable words. This morning, I finally called Danny and told him about my infertility, explaining why I hadn't shared it sooner amid his mom's issues. He was hurt, but tried to understand. Then, I firmly said I won't return home until Camila leaves. It's her or me. He couldn't just kick her out and left upset. We haven't talked since. I'm scared he'll choose her, but I can't sacrifice my sanity anymore. Thanks for the support. Stayed with my friend for peace. She grabbed my things from home, but Camila yelled and acted like she owned the place. Danny and I talked by phone and decided to rent Camila a small studio, affordable with our jobs. But she's unhappy, cries to guilt Danny, and picks apart every apartment. I avoid her entirely. It's draining him. Wondering if she'll ever move. Need space and peace. Love Danny but must protect myself. Thanks for advice. After weeks of searching, Camila agreed to a nearby studio. Relieved, even if not ideal. Set boundaries. No uninvited visits. Danny can visit her. She fought back with relatives' guilt trips and fake health scares to manipulate him into letting her return, but he held firm, and she backed off. Moved back home a month ago. Feels normal but tense. We're discussing surrogacy seriously, though I'm still processing. No rush. This is my last update. Things calmer, on the right path. Huge thanks for all support. It's helped so much. Take care.